And my father and I were really could only relate to golf. So my world was planned on being a PGA Tour professional golfer. I mean, you go back and look at my high school, you talk to everybody, my name's on the wall, Letterman, all this other stuff, but it was always Travis Fox was going to be the PGA Tour. Everybody knew it. I knew it. My life was pre-planned because that's what I thought it should look like. Well, there's a funny little thing that happens called life, commonly called a child. So I was a father by the time I was 17. Wasn't planned, but guess what? It showed up. And if you've ever had that experience, it right turns you. And then on top of that, the emotional componency that came along with that, the heartbreak, the not understanding it, being not mature enough to really handle it, not even mature enough to handle a real relationship because we were playing, high school games at that time, broke my heart and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I went from being life planned out to being complete and total head case.
All right, Travis, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for letting me be here. I'm excited. Hopefully you're safe and like everybody else, and let's do this.
Yeah, man. It's been the same story for the last couple of weeks, unfortunately. Nothing's really changed yet, but...
Wash, rinse, and repeat, right?
Man, it's Groundhog's Day every day, but hey, you know what? Thank goodness I get to work from home.
Right?
Things haven't really slowed down for me yet, thankfully.
Right.
Right. So just keeping busy, right? Hey, it could always be a lot worse, right? Imagine
you could be dead.
You could be dead. You could be dead. You could also have no TV, no cell phones, no Netflix. I mean, this could have happened in a different era, right?
No running water. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So let's just enjoy the vacation. Let's enjoy. We should call it a staycation. Just staying home and chilling.
Yeah. So I absolutely love your background. For the people that are watching this on YouTube, it looks like you're in a forest right now, and you have hats.
Got back from Africa.
You have hats placed in those trees. So tell us what's going on there.
Well, we've all been, quasi-sequestered for the last de facto 90 days. And so we couldn't go outside. We couldn't do anything. And so I just kind of changed my environment. I said, it's really everyone's looking at back walls. And I said, well, why don't we bring some of that outside inside? So I went and moved all the fake plants in the house. And so why don't we just create this thing? And then I realized, a lot of my students have their own brands. And well, these trees are nice. They're clearly fake. I thought, well, why not, show some of the family what the Architects of Being community is all really about. And now we have, these tree hats. And now people asking, hey, how do I get my hat on your tree? And I'm like, send it to me. I don't. So it's kind of become this weird thing because everyone's like, yeah, like, how do I get my hat up there? I'm like, I hadn't really thought about that actually, but if you want to send it, I'll gladly put it up there. No problem. So that's how it started. It just kind of creates this nice environment. Plus, this, when you work from home or you're in, we've all been home, you want to have something that at least changes the environment so that you can constantly have some sense of sanity. You don't feel like you're losing your mind. And so for me, when I come into, the studio here in the office, I don't feel like I'm like, okay, there's four walls. I'm staring at the cameras. It's okay, cool. This is a fun environment. And now we can really just have a conversation. So that's why I did it.
Absolutely, brother. I love it. So Travis, for the people that aren't familiar with your work, would you mind to just give us like a quick overview of what you're currently doing?
Well, yeah. First of all, who's not familiar with my work?
I mean, there might be like one or two people. One or two people out there. Everyone else knows you already.
All right. Well,
been featured on Yahoo, CNN, Forbes. I mean, you're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm like, if you haven't seen me by now, well, then you see me on the show here. One of the ways you're going to find out. Anyway, let's have some fun with that. Yeah. So, I'm a life architect, and people are going to go, what's a life architect? Well, for the last 30 years, I've helped people truly understand that you are the architect of your life. If you want to have everything now, it starts with a blueprint. Well, we don't really teach blueprinting for yourself. We teach, good luck, plan for the best, hope for the best, plan for the worst, and just kind of wing it. But that's not really architecting your life. And so, for the last 30 years, I have traveled around the world. I've, done all my schooling, degrees, clinical, 14,000 hours of stage, Emmys, blah, 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 did all that stuff. And I've done it along the way, and I continue to improve the system that we use that people can train themselves to become a life architect. First of all, you are the architect of you, but more importantly, architect a lifestyle. Now more than ever, a lifestyle is going to be imperative. And if you don't have a blueprint and a plan on how to make more money and how to have these passionate relationships and how to get more, just emotional content out of your life, well, then as you said so eloquently, you're going to repeat Groundhog's Day, not just for the last 6 days, but maybe for the last 6 years or the last 60 years. And there's a problem with that. You're going to run out of time. And there's this wonderful little thing called death that shows up for everybody. So if you're not really living your life fully expressed and getting the things that you want, you need a plan. Well, architecture gives you that plan. So we always say life coaching tells you really like what to do. Life architecting tells you how to do it.
Interesting. And this is all brand new to me, so I'm really excited to learn your methods and
are you one of the two that doesn't know who I am? Is that what you're saying?
I might be. I might be. But hey, dude, that's the beauty of the podcast, man. Is I get to meet so many cool people, that are doing amazing things all over the world. So, life architect. So, Travis, would that be the opposite of being spontaneous?
No, completely. Yeah, spontaneity is always in there. See, we think that spontaneity and planning are logic versus imagination, left brain versus right brain. Nothing could be further from the truth. You see, your brain has rules. Now, think back to your education, all of you. Go all the way back to middle school, high school, and even university. We really don't teach people how to deal with you. Now, here's the irony of that whole comment. You are the single longest relationship you're ever going to have in your entire life. Doesn't it make sense that you want to know how this thing works? Now, we call this the spacesuit, commonly called your body. But most people have no idea how your brain works. Most people don't know that there are 7 rules to the conscious mind that actually can work against you when you want to create change. Very true. Every human being has it. Most people have no idea how their subconscious actually creates a belief system commonly called a habit. Most people have no idea what they really value. COVID-19 has definitely brought a lot of that change because now we've had so much time to kind of reflect. But even then, if we're wash, rinsing, repeating Groundhog's Day, we're really not assigning value. And if you don't change how your value system works down here, this thing up here, which is the ultimate supercomputer, is going to keep doing the same things that it's always done, despite your intentions. I mean, let's be honest, family. How many years have you done the New Year's resolution intention only 2 weeks later to be right back to where you started? So you know that intentions don't work. That's an outside-in model. Our model teaches you literally how to architect up. Now, why is it called Architects of Being, which is probably the most common question we get? Why is it called Architects of Being? I love the name. That's really cool. I get it's a blueprint, but I don't get the being part. Let me just sum it up for you, family. Can we all agree that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience? Whatever your spirituality is, doesn't matter to me. I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but let's just believe that you came from somewhere and you're going somewhere, commonly called birth and death. Okay, in the interim, there's this wonderful little playground called Earth and Life. So if you're a being, doesn't it make sense that you should architect your life from your being and not from your brain? Because this puppy up here is really just a computer. And if you don't know how it works, no different than the computer we're recording this on, or maybe your audience is watching this on, or your device that you're watching it on, it has limitations and rules. And if you don't know how to program it, then we're all subject to the whims of our mad mind, our own. And we are our own worst enemy. So doesn't it make sense to understand the relationship to ourselves, how to create it, how to architect your life? Because again, you don't build a house without a blueprint. You don't go to the architect and go, well, I just think I want a house. You have an idea and they helped you craft a blueprint so you know exactly how to work your plan. You want to make 6-7 figures a year, you got to have a plan. It doesn't happen by accident. Hey, just put up a lander page and 400 billion people buy your stuff is total hogwash. Those are people that are just, you might as well go to Vegas. Well, when there was a Vegas, Vegas isn't there right now, right? And just throw the dice and hope to gosh you win. That's gambling. Architecting your life says, hey, let's create a plan, but there is the variance of spontaneity because it's not based on how you think it should look. It's based on how you feel and operate. And there's a completely different system, and we don't teach people how to do that. And so for the last 30 years, it has been my journey, my passion, helping literally tens of thousands of people around the world wake up from this self-hypnosis that we all impose upon ourselves and the limitations that we do and the negative thoughts, and learn how your thoughts become things and drive it down so that you can architect your own life.
Wow, really powerful stuff, Travis. So what would you say are the most important aspects of one's being that they need to work on? Like, is there like a top 4, top 3, or are they just all equally important? Like, where does one start with all of this? Like, how do you know? How do you know if you're jacked up?
Well, let's start with stress. Let's start with how often do you actually go, gee, I wish? in your thought process. Gee, I wish I had a different relationship. Gee, I wish I could finally make 6 figures or 7 figures or even 8 figures. Or gee, I wish I could travel more. Or my favorite one is, gee, I wish I had more time. One of my favorite ones, by the way, because you're the one that controls your own time sequence. But we start with a lot of wishing. Wishing is a conscious intention that is going to get you nowhere, driven by an emotion of not good enough, don't feel like I'm living up to my potential, not satisfied with the life that I want or really want to experience, which there's this ocean between this intentional thought and what's going on down here. Architecting is that bridge. It's that gap that allows you to understand what this mind is doing, how it was programmed, and also how to unprogram it the way you want it to, and come from a place that you really want to experience. Because again, most people say, well, gee, I just want to, I want to be rich. All right. But if you're homeless, $100 makes you rich. But to your brain, you don't understand the quantification of value. Well, come on, Travis, I want to be a millionaire. Do you? Or you just want to look cool because there's something else going on here that you haven't really addressed yet. Again, you don't build a house without a blueprint. You don't build a car. You don't do a show. You had a blueprint when you built this show. There are steps that you had to go through in order to make this a successful show. And yet we go through life without a blueprint. It makes no sense at all. And so, since I was a kid, I've always had this question of, how come we don't teach that? How come we don't teach people how to architect their own life? Because death comes for us all. Obviously, I'm not making light of COVID-19 in any way, but there was HIV, there's cancer, there's yellow fever. There's been all kinds of things that take us out, not including just life itself. But what about the concept of really living the life you want to live? And so the highest value that I start with people is, if you start with I wish, or I'd like, I coulda, woulda, shoulda, then the next question you get to ask yourself, most importantly, is, are you truly listening down here, or are you too busy excusing up here? And if you know that you're excusing, it's a good time. Maybe you want to check out Architect and see what's going on.
I want to touch on something you just said earlier, which was, do you really want to be a millionaire, or is there something else going on in here? What did you mean by that, Travis?
Okay, so I had the pleasure of doing a podcast over, ironically, in Asia last night. And the host, ironically, said, I want to be a millionaire. And I said, okay, well, let's play for a second. So I said, well, why do you want to be a millionaire? Let's really get clear. Let me give you a free one right now. We'll show you how architecting works at a very, very simple level. And he says, well, I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to buy the things that I want to buy. And I want to be able to give back to my parents for what they've given to me. I said, that's great. Those sound really awesome. But let's really listen to what you said. I want to be a millionaire so I can travel. First of all, what does you being a millionaire have to do with your ability to travel? Nothing. You can buy a plane ticket right now if you want to. You can grab a backpack right now if you wanted to. You could hitchhike. Not that I recommend it, but you could. There's a lot of people that do the nomadic life very successfully. So we put this limitation that says, only when I'm a millionaire, then I can travel, which means I have an idea of what travel should be, not what it can be right now. Then you add the second thing. Well, I want to be able to buy the things that I want to buy. Time out. You don't know what you want to buy. You have an idea of what you think you want to buy. Example, law of attraction experts. One of my favorite things to talk about. I'm like, you're a law of attraction expert, are you? Okay. Are you living the life you want to really live? Well, not yet. Well, okay. So let's drop the word expert and let's just talk about law of attraction for what it is and what it isn't, right? And so, I'll talk about one of our films that followed up to that, by the way. But I said, okay, so if you think I want a Lamborghini and a Lamborghini shows up, okay, so you buy this Lamborghini. What happens a month later when you're bored, or you realize that a Lamborghini is expensive, or maybe people treat you differently, or maybe it wasn't the ride that you thought it was? Well, you're stuck with that. So buying something is a precursor of what it's going to make you feel, not the car. The car doesn't care about you or me. It could care less. No gas pedal doesn't do anything. It doesn't care. But what about the opportunity of, hey, I meet this guy and I'm on my travels, I'm on my journey, and someone says, hey, Trav, I've got 5 Lamborghinis. I don't use them. Why don't you borrow it for 30 days? You get the experience. So the whole point of that is, we are so busy telling God, the universe, spirit, being, whatever you want to call it, this is how it's got to look according to my brain. And if it doesn't look like that, well, then I'm not interested. How many times do we keep ourselves from what we actually want to experience, but we qualify it by saying, well, it has to look this way. And if it doesn't, well, then damn it, I don't want it. And then we never get it. And then we end up being frustrated. And then you add the third part and said, well, I want to be able to take care of my parents. I said, well, I'm a 3-time father and a 1-time grandfather. And I can tell you point blank, One, I don't ever want any of my kids who are very educated, very successful on their own to feel obligated to take care of dad. Two, what I would rather them do is be able to come to me and say, Dad, I lived the life I wanted to live because you taught me choice. You taught me to follow my heart and my path, not what Travis Fox thinks or not what the world thinks. And I've enjoyed every second of it. That's 10 times more interesting to 99% of the parents out there than it is to come up and say, well, write the check, son or daughter, because you need to pay me back because I raised you as a kid. That's obligation. That's not a gifting or taking care of anybody. That's obligation sequencing. So when we look at some of the things that we say, we don't seem to realize how our thoughts become things. Example. How many of us, and I'll ask you the same question, how many of you remember when you were in middle school or high school, and maybe even young university or college, and every adult you ran into said, don't worry about it, you're young, you've got time? Absolutely. Total BS. But that thought becomes a thing. Now, thing doesn't mean like the tree or the hats or this computer, that we're talking about, that you say tangible. Things that we create as reality in our head. There is no guarantee that you have time. You and I literally could walk out the door and get hit by a bus, assuming there's one running right now, but we could get hit by a bus. So we create this thing that says, I've got time, so I'll just wait. Well, 20, 30, 40, now you're 50 years old. All of a sudden, time takes on a different value structure, but you don't get those 4 decades back because that thing that you created in your head and didn't know how to unarchitect it became a reality for you. And so when we look at these concepts, we're like, wait a minute. I don't really pay attention to what I'm saying because it sounds flippant. But you don't understand that your thoughts become things. And the law of attraction is not based on your brain. It has nothing to do with your head. It has to do with what's going on down here in your emotional content, in your emotional structure. So we don't teach that. So the Architects of Being community is about, hey, wait a minute. What if we gave you a step-by-step blueprint for you to understand what's going on here, how to deal with your thoughts, see if they're actually what you really want, and then have you track it with measurable results. Just like when you build a house, you can see the progress and you can pivot, you can be spontaneous, you can move, but you're always in alignment with you, not the you think you're supposed to be, but you. That's it.
So Travis, let's talk about the I'll do it later mentality, right? You touched on it just a little bit, but sure. I'm a trainer in the real estate world. And I hear this probably 1,000 times a year, right? I'll do it later. I'll get to it later. I want to do it. Not right now. I'm going to do it later.
When I have time.
When I have time, right? I mean, we've heard it. I mean, a million times.
Oh, yeah.
And it's it's like a curse, right? When people have this thought process, because I'll do it later turns into I'm never going to do it.
I was never committed in the first place. So when people say that to me, Travis, I want to do architects in training. I'm like, it's a 14-week process. We're going to show you how to architect your life. It's the undergrad of going through our university, right? It's the undergrad sequence. Well, I'll get to it. I'm like, wait a minute. So let me get this straight. You're concerned about I'll get to it later, whether it's a money guardian, I don't have the money. Yes, you do. I do. Trust me, you do. Two, or hey, you know what? I don't have the time right now because. Wrong. All of those things are saying, I am not the most important choice in my life. Now, frickin' deal with it, audience. Own that from a beautiful space, not from a judgment of Travis Fox or this show, but own it from a space that you are choosing to put yourself last. Now, I'm not talking about narcissism. I'm not talking about, being self-centered. I'm talking about if you telling me you don't have time in your own life, then let me put this in context for you. And this is not going to feel good, but it's time someone gives you the truth. So I'm going to do it. Okay. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to wake you up. That's my job. That's what I love doing. You got 26,000 days if you're lucky to get to about 85 years old in your life. 26,000 days. That's it. Bar none. The game's over. Bar closes. Theme park's over. You're dead. That's it. So if you're going to sit there and tell me you don't have time, then my response to you is the only person that is getting totally shafted in that deal is you. Period. Nobody else is doing it to you. No one's else putting you down and compressing you or oppressing you. It's you making a choice to say, I'm not important enough to go experience my own life because I'm afraid of judgment. I'm afraid of failure. Hell, more often I'm afraid of success because I might find out that I was an asshole. Well, so what if you're an asshole? You're an asshole now. You're just a bigger one because you got more money. But you can work on that because there's a really funny statement that's really, really cool. And I'm sure you've all heard of this. Money kind of solves some shit, right? So let's own that. We're so afraid to go, I'm in it for the money. Yeah, you are, but you're not. You're in it for the money on what's on the other side of money. So, for example, yes, do I charge people to come to my university? Of course. I've spent 30 years building it. I've got the letters before and after my name. I've made all the mistakes. I've had money, lost money, had divorce. I've done a lot of stupid shit so that you don't have to. Now, if you're not worthy to invest in yourself, why should someone in the real estate world invest in you? Why would anybody else do anything except for, guess what? You know what? I think I might give you a job and then I might fire you. Because what you're really saying to the universe for those law of attraction people out there is, well, I'll get to it when. Now we're back to those thought processes again. That thought became a thing. So something else has to occur before you choose you. That, my friends, is a really, really sour deal for you and for everyone else on the planet, because you're robbing us of the real you. And more importantly, you're robbing yourself of the real life experience that you chose to have when you came into this world. And somewhere your brain said, yeah, but when?
Wow. That's some great perspective, man. Bringing the heat. Travis bringing the heat.
Take that rabbit hose, baby. Come on, baby. Take the fire hose.
So, Travis,
get out your water. Money. Let's go.
Before we dive into what you were doing before architecting your life and obviously what you're doing right now and the organization that you've created, I have a personal question that I want to get your insight on. So for as long as I can remember, I have a very tough time saying the word no. I don't like saying no. I feel that when I say no, I'm disappointing the other person.
Yeah, you're letting them down.
Yeah, so I try to deflect from saying no, and it usually ends up in I'll think about it, I'll get back to you, yada yada yada.
Never do.
Which I never do, exactly. and like my friends always give me shit because I'm like the guy that doesn't call back, but
I'm the non-committal guy.
Exactly. And that's something that I struggle with because, and it's just like two letters, but I don't like saying no. Whether it's people I know or people I don't know. I don't know why. But for the people
Sure you do. Stop that. That's total bullshit. Come on now. We're gonna. All right, I'm gonna play. Come on, dog.
I genuinely no, Travis.
Of course you do.
No, subconsciously, I'm sure I do.
No, consciously, you know. I can ask you two questions. You'll come to the truth.
Let's go.
You've already told me one of them, and you told your audience right here. I don't want to let the other person down. How come? Now take it one step further, and let's have the honesty. Let's both open our kimonos because we're both fuck ups. Anybody who says they got it together is full of shit. I'll be the first one to tell you, bullshit. We are so full of shit. If you want to know how fucked up humans really are, we're making this COVID-19 crap up as we go. Come on. Okay, we're on this big rock in the middle of freaking nowhere in the universe, and all of a sudden you think you've got it all figured out? Brother, sister, bring it down a notch. Let's calm down. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's architect a life that's much more like going to a theme park than like going to prison. So let's make a choice there. So let's back up. So you don't want to let people down because?
I don't want to let people down because I feel like I'm responsible for them not being able to do X, or for them, like, for example, if it's my friend wants to go out on a Friday night and I don't want to do it, but I know that they do, by me saying no, I'm ruining their time.
Oh, I see. So you have a savior complex.
I guess I do.
Well,
I guess I do.
Let's just play it out.
What does that mean?
I have to save how they feel by the choices I make, because my friends aren't qualified enough to make their own choices about their own emotional structure. And if they're not, send them to architect. We'll teach them how to do it, because they've got to be responsible for their own choices. Yes, I'm not saying that you want to go around and saying F you to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to say no, because it goes back to what we said a moment ago. If you're not important enough to go, time out, guys. I've been to the bars. I've got it. I'm tired. I'm working on 14 podcasts right now. I've got guests coming in from all over the place, because this is my passion, the show, and in of itself, and growing your real estate business. That going out on a Friday night can impact that, and that's not as important as you feeling like you need a wingman because you have a confidence issue, or you want to go get smashed, or whatever. Because we've all done it, right? Then all of a sudden you become the savior of them. Now let me ask you a question: where does that not become a codependent relationship?
Wow, I never looked at it like that.
Of course not, because we're all good at bullshitting ourselves. We have this beautiful thing from our neck up called a brain. I call it the best hypnotist on the planet, right? It hypnotizes us to believing stuff that is just redonkulous, i.e., how often do you keep beating your head against the wall, asking this person the same question and expecting that wall to become a door? It's a freaking wall. It's never going to become a door. No matter how much you beat your head on it, it's not going to become a door. But our brain will tell you, just hit it one more time, Trav. One more time, and then it's finally going to become a door. No, it's not. It's a door. Now, you can choose to keep doing that because it gives you some sort of feeling of, well, you're doing something. Or you can go, stop. It's okay for me to say no. Why? Because you're inviting them to also own their own responsibility of going, it's okay if someone says no. No doesn't mean drop dead, I don't want to ever see you again. No just means not right now. That's all it means. When we used to teach sales training 30 years ago, back in the day, we used to actually look for the no. I used to teach all my sales guys, I want you to get 7 no's before you get a yes. They're like, what are you talking about, Travis? I'm like, guys, if they've given you 7 no's, you have weeded through all of the psychological BS and excuses that they have convinced themselves of why they should not choose themselves first and how our thing solves X problem, whatever the problem was. I used to teach realtors many, many years ago. And it was like, look, guys, it's about creating a relationship between you and the buyer and the home. They've got to be able to see themselves, feel themselves, experience that. It's not just, is the price right? People will find a way to buy something if they really want it. We've all done it. Heck, right now in the United States, we just spent $4.5 trillion. We found a way to print money. Holy shit, we just made it up. Mysteriously, we were at $20 trillion in debt. Mysteriously, $4 trillion showed up. So we will find a way to create a solution when we're ready. Now, the problem is, in your case, and by the way, we all suffer from that. It's not exclusive to you. We don't want to let anybody down, we don't disappoint anybody because we're told, going all the way back to when we were children, treat others as you would treat yourself. And that generally is a great hearken to concept, except when the other person becomes more important than you and you start stacking that 10, 20, 30 friends, there's no time left for you. Add kids to that, add a relationship, add your family dynamic to it, add your business relationship to it, and your own life is not your own. Again, I say unto you, the only person that gets shafted in that deal is you. And again, I'm not talking about narcissism. I have a family. I have literally thousands of architects around the world. I've been on stages my whole life. There's thousands of people that I know, but there's a point where you have to go, stop. If Travis doesn't take alone time, there's nothing left of Travis. And I would hearken you all the way back to the great Gandhi, who was asked, hey, now that you're the leader of the nation, how is it that you spend 4 hours in meditation? He goes, well, I have these people to take care of. Don't I owe it to them? When he used to only meditate 2 hours. So he added 2 more hours of his day to sit and make sure that he was centered and clear on how to advise this nation how to become independent from the UK. Why don't we do the same? How come we don't sit still for 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day and get really crystal clear? This is how I want to architect my life, up to including going, you know what, this Friday night doesn't really work for me. Or how about Friday? How about next Friday? Or how about Sunday or whatever? But we go back to their feelings are more important than mine. And I'm not talking about a competition. I'm talking about placement of what's called a hierarchy of values. And you learn this in module 6 in our system in architects and training. Our hierarchy of values are what really make our belief structures function. It's not your intention. It's down here what we really value. Now, you value your friends. I value mine. But if I value my friend's emotional structure from moment to moment to moment, then I'm a cat on a hot tin roof. There is no way for me to stay balanced going, where are you going? Okay, now he's upset. Oh, crap, he's mad at me. Oh, now he's happy with me again. Okay, the world's great. Oh, now he thinks I'm an a-hole. Oh, no, I'm not. And you're constantly moving. You're never in your own space. Well, if you're never in your own space, there's 2 things inevitably come true. One, they will expect you to drop everything and move the way you move. And that's not a balanced, healthy relationship for anybody. And 2, you will lose sense of yourself, of what's really important to you. And again, the only person that gets shafted in that deal is you. And you get to own that whole thing either way, because it's going to be your choice.
I love it, brother. I love it, brother. I love it.
Let's
Travis,
go.
I want to go back in time here. You say that you've been doing this for the last 30 years.
Yep.
What was going on before 30 years? Like, what were you doing? How did you get into this field? How did you get started?
Yeah, great question. So my life, probably like a lot of your listeners, was kind of preordained for me, right? So when I was 5 years old, my father put a golf club in my hand back in Florida, and I was natural to it. Golf just naturally came to me. I just kind of enjoyed the game. And this was when golf wasn't cool. I'm not talking about the Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson era. I'm talking back in, the 70s, back when we wore plaid pants. We were like, this is like Caddyshack. So nonetheless, it kind of became this thing, and it was the only way my father and I could really connect. Now, as a child, I didn't get that consciously, but unconsciously, I knew that this is the only way Dad and I really jammed, because my mother was a model and an actress, so she came from the entertainment side. My father was a fighter pilot, so if you ever saw the original movie Top Gun, it didn't turn out like that. It wasn't even close. It was like, where did who go? It was done. So by 9 years old, the relationship was over between the two of them. And my father and I could only relate to golf. So my world was planned on being a PGA Tour professional golfer. I mean, you go back and look at my high school, you talk to everybody, my name's on the wall, Letterman, all this other stuff, but it was always Travis Fox was going to be the PGA Tour. Everybody knew it. I knew it. My life was pre-planned because that's what I thought it should look like. Well, there's a funny little thing that happens called life, commonly called a child. So I was a father by the time I was 17. Wasn't planned, but guess what? It showed up. And if you've ever had that experience, it right turns you. And then on top of that, the emotional componency that came along with that, the heartbreak, the not understanding it, being not mature enough to really handle it, not even mature enough to handle a real relationship, because we were playing, high school games at that time, broke my heart, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I went from being life planned out to being complete and total head case. I mean, literally just lost it like overnight. Boom. And life was all of a sudden, well, who's Travis Fox without golf? And I had no idea. I had no idea what to do with that. And so I went and started studying psychology. I said, okay, I got to fix me. I have got to get my head pulled out of my rear end like right now, because my world is falling apart. And maybe some people are going through that right now. They feel like their entire life is falling apart. But that's an imagery that we create because we think it should look a certain way. When my life unraveled itself, two things occur. I met both my mentors. One of my mentors introduced me to hypnotherapy and subconscious modalities. And I said, I got to know everything I need to know about that. I need to figure out what's going on down here below my awareness, because there's some thoughts that I'm thinking that there's no way that I would think, because I wouldn't do that to myself. And yet there they were. There were those thoughts of you're not good enough, or you're going to hit the ball out of bounds, or what if you're a failure? What if everybody laughs at you? What if everybody thinks you're a joke? What if you're just that guy? What if you're relative to being a caddy for the rest of your life? All these just horrible thoughts. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? And then I met my other mentor who ended up being, I sat under him for 15 years and got all my, I got my degrees, I got my doctorates. And then all of a sudden I realized that two things occurred. It was the best thing that ever happened. And I wasn't smart enough, aware enough, consciously intentional enough, law of attraction enough. And I had read all the books, just like everybody else, to go time out. I'm playing golf for all the wrong reasons. I'm playing for my father. I want my father's approval. I want my dad to go attaboy. I want my dad to say, you know what, you're good enough, and stop being so angry at me for what happened with my mom. I happen to look a lot like my mom. Can't change that, boys and girls. It is what it is. But the subtle resentment that came out of that for his own heartbreak showed up in our relationship. And the only way for me to deal with that was with golf. And when I failed at golf, I failed him. I was a failure. I wasn't good enough. So I practiced harder, more and more and more, 1,000 balls a day, blisters all over my hands. When I won a tournament, I was the king of the world, but only for a day, because you're only as good as the next tournament. So I was constantly in the search mode. So as that unwound, then the second one came. And the second one came when I was in my 30s. And I laugh about it now, but when it happened, I was literally unraveled. I had developed Dr. Fox, right? It was Dr. Fox now. I had all these letters before and after my name, and I was really cool now. And I had made myself, I've been very successful, had a great marriage, couple of kids, 2 cats and a dog and an RV and houses and all this other shit that I'm supposed to have. I still didn't feel quite happy on the inside, but I was good enough BSer on the out front to myself to go, I'm happy. Not true. At any rate, my third child was born. And this was going to be perfect because I had all planned out, brother. I'd done the first 2, kind of made some mistakes with the older boy and the girl. This one, we got it down to a science. We got this parenting thing. Fox has got it. Okay, here we go. Okay, life has another right turn. Life goes, okay, well, your third child's going to be born autistic. Okay, well, shit. I have no idea how to deal with that. Here's Dr. Fox, the great communicator, the television, film, thousands of hours on stage, all this other stuff. I have no idea how to talk to my son. I am completely unraveled. I am dumbfounded. I'm heartbroken. I'm disappointed because what I thought it was going to look like and what it showed up like weren't even in the same hemisphere. And I started to ask myself, well, if I can't even communicate with my son, then what is all this stuff that I'm talking about? What's missing? What's the part that's missing? And I started to realize that my son was one of my greatest, and still is to this day, one of my greatest teachers, because he taught me to speak the language of the heart. Because autistics don't BS. They don't waste time. They tell you exactly how they feel. And they're very straightforward from that perspective. So I had to learn to communicate, not from here, which I had spent decades mastering. I had to learn to communicate from here, which I had spent decades avoiding, because I didn't want to dive into that pain of going back, of not being good enough with the golf career, all these other things. And I really got heartbroken again. But again, if you look at it from that perspective, and I'm not telling you I have it all together, family. Everyone's like, oh, Travis, you sound like you got it all together. Oh, bullshit. My life is just as screwed up as yours is. I just know it is. Okay. And I've developed a system that's replicated itself for 30 years that people can do the same. Okay, cool. But I'm still making stuff up as I go too. So let's have some fun and vulnerability with that. But 18 years later, my autistic son has helped me understand that I'm a little Asperger's myself, and that I understand how thoughts and how multiple conversations that I have in my head, I know how to unwind them from the clinical perspective. I know how to apply them, but most importantly, I know how to experience them. I know how to experience it. I know how to create from this place, because when I'm with him, there's no pretense. He doesn't care whether I have $2 or $2 billion. He doesn't care whether we're on first class or we're in coach. He doesn't care if everyone laughs and jokes at him, because he just doesn't give a shit. And it's not that he's obtuse about people or standoffish. He's just consumed in his own experience. And I dawned on me, finally, I went, isn't that what we're all supposed to be from a certain point of view? Aren't we supposed to be so present? And the best lesson, I'll give you this last lesson, and I'll wrap this up for you, is when he was 7 years old, we were in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was raking leaves, like most kids do. We were raking leaves, but unlike most kids, I sat and watched him take these leaves, and he took 2 leaves and he sat there, and I just sat and watched him like, what is he doing with leaves? And it's trees, leaves, big deal. I never thought about it at this point of view, but there were leaves behind me, but they were in this pile, and he takes them and he starts crumpling them. And he's so into the crunchiness and the texture and the sound and how it feels that he literally bursts out and starts laughing out loud. And as most autistics do, it's called modulation. He started flapping like this because he was so excited. And I started crying. I mean, I literally started bawling like a little girl. And yes, I'm a little girl. I cry every day, deal with it, right? I cried. I sat there and went, I've never been that happy about anything in my entire life. I've never been so present in my own journey that to just crunch leaves and be thankful that I could do that and to feel that experience. I've never had that experience in all of my life. I've never had all the things, stage, all that stuff that's supposed to be really important. I had never felt that kind of joy. And I started crying. And I said, oh my God, I have been so asleep. Here I thought I was awake. Dr. Fox thought he had it all together because I had the perfect wife and the house and the cars and the degrees and all the success and money and all this other stuff. But I'd never been present in my own life to sit there and go, wow, to be able just to squeeze leaves and have that much joy. And since that point, I realized that being Dr. Fox was just a personality that I had created because that's what they told me I was supposed to be. I'm supposed to have a calm and I'm always supposed to be centered and I have all the answers because I've got all these letters. Total bullshit, right? Okay, I've got a lot of good questions for you, but I don't have any answers for you. I'm just as screwed up as you are. I just know I am. But I know how to help people wake themselves up. And so I started waking myself up and going, what's really missing in my life? And I hearkened all the way back and I looked and I realized no one ever taught me that it was okay to live your life heart forward, because that's only for the gypsies. That's only for the hippies. That's only for the people that are out on the fringe. No, it's not. It's for every one of us. And so I have spent the last literally 15 years going, well, what if you took a system that was clinically based, makes sense, but that you could apply right away, but most importantly, you could experience so that your whole being, again, architects of being, could experience your life. And so I started from, again, being a PGA Tour golfer to realizing at 19 years old, my life is really about helping other people wake up. I thought selfishly it was about me. It has nothing to do with me. I just get to be like you. I get to be around thousands of people every single day, whether online or offline, going through the university, waking themselves going, holy shit, I'm the architect of my whole life. Yeah, you are. And the drug that reveals that drug of that moment when someone goes, wait a minute, I'm the architect of my life. I can create the blueprint to more money, to relationships, to emotional stability, to connectivity, to anything I want to experience. That moment, that drug right there is like when my son was crumpling the leaves for me. I get so excited. I cry, I laugh. Hell, sometimes I modulate too, because I just don't give a shit about what I look like. I care about what it feels like. So that's how I started, and that's where I'm at now.
Some incredible stuff, Travis, and I can relate to a few of the things that you said. For me, when I first started in business, going on almost 7 years ago, I came from the bartending space, so I was used to making like 20, 30K a year. And when I first started making money, I remember my first check, I made $7,000. It was everything to me. I thought I hit it huge.
Yep.
And it was everything I wanted it to be. Yeah. And I pat myself on the back for actually doing it. But as I continued in business, I remember at one point, I was making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, and I didn't feel any different. Like, I thought, like, when I make $250,000, I'm going I made it. I'm gonna feel incredible.
Yeah. You get an extra star on your sleeve.
Yeah, and it was complete opposite, Travis. Like,
totally.
And I felt, and I've struggled with this for a while now. Is I felt unfulfilled. I felt like just because I made that, I made that money. Now what? Now, like,
it's always a now what.
And that's why my personal opinion is money does not buy happiness. Like, money alone does not.
It rents it for a while. Sure. It rents
short term.
Yeah, it's an experience, right? You're absolutely correct.
It's a great tool. You can do things that make you happy.
Sure.
But the money alone, like, if you were to just $50,000 in someone's bank account, they're miserable. Now all of a sudden they're happy, maybe for a day, but shortly that'll wear off and they'll go back to being miserable because exactly. So, it's just it's interesting what you're saying, and I believe that being grateful for the things that you have is just so important, right? Like being.
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely.
That's another thing. My latest film just released, and I invite all of you to go watch it. You have nothing better to do, right? You watched everything on Netflix and Amazon. Let's learn something. It's called How Thoughts Become Things. Right. And it's a lot of the original cast and I got together from The Secret, the original film about 17 years ago. And we said, well, wait a minute. This law of attraction thing is not linear. You think it and shows up. It doesn't work that way. Right. So we're actually going to show you how thoughts become things. And, in the 70 minutes the film is there. But just like you said, I think I should be grateful for the things that I have. Okay. 2 things I would invite you to look at. 1, how come you're not grateful for the things you don't have? Because you don't know what you don't know. And 2, how come we're not just in a state of gratitude all the time about everything? How come it's only gratitude for the things that I have? Be thankful and be grateful that you don't have COVID or HIV or cancer. Or, hey, be grateful you're not an asshole. Or maybe you are, right? Be grateful.
Sometimes.
Well, we all are, right? I mean, yeah, right? We all have a big day in our chest, right? Right? But I mean, how come we take, again, a small little thought like you have time? Doesn't seem like a lot, but it creates the bricks of the walls that limit us from who we really are. And more importantly, the things that we want to experience right now, not tomorrow, not 90 days from now. I mean, right now. And so we get into things like, adaptive response sequencing, internal state, which is all really fancy ways of clinical ways of going time out. How come you're just not in a state of gratitude all the time? For example, I'm extraordinarily grateful that I get to be on your show. Not everyone gets to be on your show. I'm grateful for it. Does it mean all of a sudden now I'm the next thing since, Deepak Chopra? I don't know. Could be. Who cares?
Hey, we might go viral, Travis.
Why not? Let's do it. Let's go viral. And audience, why don't you take it viral? Why not? Let's stop talking shit and start being the shit. And I don't mean like, yo, I'm better than everybody. No. Everybody's better. What a concept. And I'm not talking about this whole thing of kumbaya and let's sit on a mountain with our orange robe and shave our head and be a monk, although you can do that if you want to. I'm talking about you can truly live a life that you want to experience, but you got to have a plan. You got to have a mentor that teaches you. Stop thinking that you have to do it all by yourself. I know I was guilty of that too because, golf is a solo sport. It's you and the golf ball. No, it's not. You got your caddy, you got your coach, you got your trainer, you got your head coach, you've got physical trainer. You got people around you. Nobody is self-made. Anybody who says they're self-made is full of shit. Full of shit. I'll be the first to say it straight to your face. You are not self-made. We all do it together in some form or another. And it's okay. We're so afraid to admit that we're screwed up. Hi, my name is Travis Fox. I'm full of shit. Nothing I'm about to tell you, you don't already know somewhere. You know what my job is? My job is to hold a space, ask you quality questions, and give you a series of steps that you can wake yourself up to the truth that you forgot. Beyond that, no one has got the answers for you but you. I know. I spent 20 years running from it, family. And I'm the guy that teaches this shit. And I ran from it. It's okay. When are we going to make it okay to go, man, I need your help. I'm grateful to be on the show because I don't know who your audience is and they don't know and they don't know. And who knows, this thing could go viral and holy shit, what an amazing experience. Or no one could watch it. And I'm still grateful because I have a killer conversation, which is better than sitting watching another freaking film on Netflix that I've already seen 20 fucking times, excuse my French. And we get to make a choice that feels good. Well, damn it. If you only have 26,000 days on the planet, what are you doing today to feel good about your journey? Because guess what? And I'm going to be really blunt with y'all. There's only one noble truth on the planet. It's the first lesson you learn when you come to the Architects. Very first lesson, so I'll give it to you here for free. No one gets off the planet alive. No one. You're all dead. So am I. How we choose to live, well, that's different. So until you accept the noble truth that it's going to end one day, you don't have time, you don't know when that is all self-hypnotic bullshit. What happens if we wake ourselves up and go, F it, I'm going to go travel right now. I don't need to be a billionaire or a millionaire. I'm going to go experience these people because there's so many people that want to share what they've experienced, whether it's a Lamborghini or it's how to make a fire. I had the beautiful experience of being with what's called the Hadzabe tribe. And they're the 50,000-year-old tribe in Tanzania, Africa. And I lived with them for 4 days, nomadically. No houses, no running water, none of the things. I mean, sleeping on dirt. Got up at 4 a.m. and went hunting for our food. And we ate monkey, no bullshit, literally monkey. And it was a chunk this big. I was so grateful that they gave me a piece. They weren't obligated to, yet they had families back at their village. And because of they wanted to share what they have learned for 50,000 years. And I'm here, this supposed to be this educated, brilliant, successful white man. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'm walking around going, I'm just following this guy. And next thing you know, they had caught this monkey and they rose and they gave it to me. And I was like, no, please feed your family. They're like, no, please, we want you to experience this. And that experience alone is more valuable to me than going out and going, okay, I'm going to go buy another car. Who gives a crap? That story is an experience. And isn't that what life really is about? So I'm like, yo, man, how come we're not grateful for everything? And again, I'm not talking about kumbaya. You want to feel your real emotions, but we always say, well, I'm only grateful for the things I have. Okay, so what happens about the things you don't have? Are you not grateful for that? Or are you just, what, a schmuck? How does that work? Right?
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, man. So let's have some blueprints. Again, know your plan, work your plan. We do this with houses. We do this with our business, but we never do it with ourselves. And that's what Architects of Being is inviting people to wake up to.
What brought you to Tanzania, by the way?
Yeah, great question. So a very good friend of mine, Chase, who runs Bucket List Lifestyle, who we've done many events together. He does a lot of the Architect Summits with us and plans them. He's an amazing trip planner. Had called me up and out of the blue said, hey, Trav, I know you're over. I was going to go around Serengeti. And I was over there and he goes, hey, I got an idea for you. And I'm like, okay, great. And he goes, well, we could go over to see the gorillas over in Uganda, but there's an Ebola breakout. Maybe we should reconsider. I said, yeah, that's probably a problem. Ebola and I probably don't get along very well. I think it's going to win. He goes, yeah. He goes, I got a great idea for you. I'm like, okay, what's that? He goes, let's go summit Kilimanjaro. I said, wait a minute. You mean the mountain Kilimanjaro? He said, yeah. Before I had a chance to think of all the excuses and all the BS to know, my spirit, my being jumped right out of my mouth and went, hell yeah, I'm in. The moment I hung up the phone, which was about 10 seconds later, every thought I could think of what the hell did I just do flooded my mind. Travis, you're 48 years old. I was 48 at the time. I'm 48 years old. You're an ocean kid. You've never climbed. You've never trained. This is the 7th tallest mountain in the world. It's 19,341 feet and it's cold and you suck in cold weather. What are you doing? My partners, my family, my friends, everyone was like, you have lost your mind, Fox. What are you doing? I went, I don't know, but I got to go. I'm listening to this. This says I got to go because my mouth said yes before I had a chance to think about it. That trip transformed my life and has changed my life forever. It was the 7 most intense, enjoyable days I've had in probably the last 2 years. I got to face death on my own. I got to face a lot of the things that I still to this day was still working out on my own architectural journey. I got to realize that the mountain has been there for 1 billion years, and I'm just a grain of sand going by. And I got to literally grind out some of the things that needed to be done. And that's how I ended up over there on a trip of a lifetime. And so if you ever want to go on a trip, you can reach out to me through the show, and I'll introduce you to Chase. And Chase puts together trips that are truly in alignment with what Architect is called the journey of a lifetime, because architecting is a journey of a lifetime. You're creating your own journey. And in there are these sub-stories, these subplots, chapters, right? Like you talk about being a bartender, going into now I'm a real estate group, now I'm a podcast success. These are all just chapters. And if we start looking at our life from an architectural chapter point of view, this is the book of my life, here are the chapters, and then I'm going to architect each chapter. Well, then you're putting on the journey of a lifetime. And so what Chase does really well is he puts these mini journeys of a lifetime within your journey. And we always architect around it. And that's how I ended up over there. And we've done many trips together. And that one in particular changed my life. And matter of fact, I just sent a good friend of mine right before COVID. He got back. He just summited 2 at the age of 62. He said, wow. Hey, I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, hell yeah. Again, and you can't train for it because you can't train at 19,000 feet. I don't care who you are. You can't, unless you've done Everest. But even then, every time you go up, it's a different experience. And so, that's how I ended up over there. And again, let's be honest. What are the top 3 things people really want to experience? I want to have more money. I want to be able to travel more. I want to see everything before I die. And I want to do it with the people that I love and like. Okay, that sounds like an architectural blueprint. The question is, if you don't have a plan to do it, how the hell do you expect to get there? Blind luck? Okay, you're better off going to Vegas, throw the dice, throw your money on the table, win, lose, or draw. Own it. Or let's create a blueprint to go out and make more money. Let's create a blueprint to build your business correctly, build in alignment with who you really are, so you have the time and the experience, the things you want. Or you are subject to the whims of a mad mind, your own.
Now, what would you say to somebody who wants to do those adventurous things like climb Kilimanjaro, go on roller coasters, haunted houses, like whatever it may be, but they're afraid? And they never do those things because of the fear that they have.
Great. So let's agree that we all have fear. It's the first thing. Everyone does. You do, I do. Anybody who says they don't have fear is lying. Everybody's got it. It's a natural part of your reptilian brain called the fight or flight sequence. We've had it since we were Neanderthalic, right? And dinosaurs, roamed the earth and we had to run around and not get killed. It's a part of who we are as our brain has grown into the brain that we currently have now as Homo sapiens. So here's the deal. You have fear. However, fears are generally, not always, generally based on prior programming at the subconscious level from what we call the 4 pillars, which is a really fancy way of saying mother, father, a religion, and state. Where did you grow up in the world? Culture has an influence on how we move. So we look at fear. For example, I'm afraid to travel because, and whatever after becomes of the because, 99.99% of the time is based on what you think is going to happen or what you've been told is going to happen, or it's a past experience that you're projecting into the future, none of which is actually accurate at the time. So what architecting does is teaches you a process of how to break down your fear to its core value, what's called a core belief structure. When you get to a core belief structure, right around that, there's a little thing that we call a master guardian. And that master guardian is the last line of defense that your brain has put up, that you created a long time ago, to make sure that you don't do things that put you at risk, that scare you, because, now we're back to the noble truth again, you might get killed, you might get hurt, you might die, you might lose your money, you might look stupid, you might feel like a failure, and the list goes on, whatever the master guardian is. 99% of the time, the fear has nothing to do with the truth. Again, no different. I've got time is not real, but we make it our own truth. And because you're such a great creator, a real creator, that becomes your truth. So when we look at fear, we can break fear down. And everybody knows the acronyms, false evidence appearing real, or forget everything and run. Again, both of those are fight or flight mechanism acronyms for the word fear. But fear is really based on a concept of, I don't know what I don't know. So this puppy up here is constantly going, well, this is what could happen, or this is what happened long ago. And it's slamming the two together so that you can't just sit there and go, you know what? Sometimes that fear is confused with anticipation or excitement or anxiousness, or guess what? Just outright exhilaration, no different than my son crunching the leaves. We get confused because there's such a fine line between fear and anticipation, or fear and anxiousness, or fear and excitement, that we can't tell the difference. And we just quickly judge ourselves and go, well, I'm too scared. Okay. Yeah, well, you were scared the first time you had sex, but you did it.
Fair play.
Right? We all were, but you did it. And guess what? It wasn't anything close to what you thought it was going to be, no matter what the outcome was. Again, we are such good creators of creating worlds inside our head that don't exist except for inside our head. And then we wonder why we don't have a blueprint, an architectural plan to live the life we really want to live. And again, I'm not saying you need to go out and be a billionaire. Most people don't really want to be billionaires. They're just talking shit because it sounds cool. What they really want to do is experience a life of peace, happiness, fulfillment, and have enough of the truth for themselves to choose what they want. It doesn't mean that you need $1 billion. Okay, I know I've had the great pleasure of being around 8 bona fide billionaires, real billionaires. It's not easy. It's tough. You have a lot of people expecting and demanding and constantly having expectations. They earned it and have every right to be a billionaire. But there's a price for that. There's always a balance because the universe is about balance. The sun doesn't stop shining just because the earth turns around and it's night. It's still shining. So light and dark are always existing at the exact same time. Same with you. Your wants and desires versus what really is are always existing. The choice is, what do you really want to experience? The downside is we're taught, and go back, family. I really want you to just look at this for a second. Just suspend your judgment and your ego on a shelf for a second. Look at middle school and look at high school. Middle school, you were still allowed to play and have fun as a kid while going to school. When you got into high school, all of a sudden the language shifted. You need to figure out what you're going to do in college. You need to figure out a choice. You need to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. I don't know about y'all, but when I was 15 and 16, I couldn't figure out what I was going to do 20 minutes before someone asked me what I was doing, much less what I was going to be doing at 49. If you would ask me at 16, at 49 years old, would I be a doctor doing this, COVID? I'd have said, you're out of your mind and you're on crack. I'll be in the PGA Tour. I'll be like, Jack Nicklaus. I'll have won the Masters by the time I'm 30, blah, 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 blah. How many of us remember I wanted to be a fireman or an astronaut or a cop? In middle school and then high school, something shifted, and who you are now and what you do now is nothing about the dreams that you dream. So ask yourself this question, family. When did you agree to yourself to stop dreaming and creating and exchange that for hoping? When did you agree to stop literally being in your life and just doing shit? And when did you agree that mediocre and just passing through and good enough was okay, from truly experiencing, crushing those leaves and having the most ecstatic experience of your life, whatever that may be, whether it's riding a roller coaster, getting on a plane, facing the fear of bungee jumping, diving into a relationship that breaks your heart in every way, shape, and form? When did you exchange those things? And I promise you, somewhere along the line, it was right around high school when someone said, you need to figure out what to do with the rest of your life versus how would you like to be for the rest of your life. It doesn't sound like much, but just like you think you have time, that subtle shift in subconscious programming creates an entire different path for you. And so architecture teaches you how to unwind it, but most importantly, how to create the life you really want. Because guess what? None of us get out of this life alive, period. But life without fully living is the ultimate undoable regret. I know I spent 20 years acting like I was fully fulfilled. And yes, did I have an amazing life? I've done amazing things? Absolutely. Compared to most, if I want to play that game, yeah, great. But compared to what I know I feel like in here, I was full of shit. I was full of shit, right? So all the accolades were just ways for me covering up and going, you know what? I don't want to be Dr. Fox anymore. In fact, I'm not. People call me doctor. People don't know me, right? Doctor is just a Latin word that comes from an etymology, means the word teacher. So I spent the last 30 years of my life, hopefully now finally at 49 years old, rolling 50, that I'm worthy of the title teacher. Maybe, we'll see. That's up to you to decide. But more importantly for me, I love teaching. I love teaching, and not that I have all the answers, I don't. I love teaching people to wake themselves up. And that's okay, because guess what? The drug of them waking themselves up, and I've done a lot of drugs. I've done everything from ayahuasca to pot, everything in between, right? The drug that, and I've done it. I am freely, openly admitted about it. So there, do it. Anybody says they haven't done drugs, try it. You should. It's an experience, right? Because you're not getting out alive anyway, so fuck it, right? Let's look at it from this point of view. That drug, that feeling, that endorphin release is equivalent and identical chemically to sex. To sex. It's the same function. What would it be like if you could feel your entire life with that endorphin release about almost everything you're doing, right? Because we all have that one friend that is just out there. That, man, they love it. They jump off the bridge. They're the bungee jumper. They're the ones that surfing the 30-foot wave. They're the ones that get smashed at the party. And we're like, yeah, well, you know, Johnny's a little out there, but we love him. You know why we love him? Because Johnny has owned what we're not willing to own. Johnny lives that experience for us where we can feel at a visceral, organic, internal cellular level, shit, life is an adventure, man. It's the journey of a lifetime. And if we're not on the journey we really want to be on, stop, because you don't have time. And so really, it boils down to that. And that's it. That's kind of where we come from.
Travis, what do you do when you have a bad day or you're in a bad mood?
Yeah, great question. Happens every day, by the way. So people are like, Travis, you got it all together. You know, you're slick, you're good looking, you got these days, you had success. Yeah, but I'm an asshole too. Okay. I have days where I get upset. I have days where I'm not in a good mood. I get up and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or I slept weird. My hair's all up here, what hair I have left, because, you know, it's getting a little thinner than it used to be, and it's damn sure a lot grayer than it used to be. Right. I have those days. I stop and act, and I don't want to sound ethereal. I don't want to sound like kumbaya. I want you to really think this is an architectural process. No different than I invite you to do for yourselves, I do for the same. Just because I'm the CEO and founder of the company doesn't mean I don't do it as well. I'm still on the journey too. I stop and ask myself, what am I really feeling? And then I ask myself, what's the what if in my head? Well, what if this happens? What if the stock market goes down? It's going to go down, Travis. It's a part of the game that you play, right? What if things don't go your way? Do they always go your way? Are you okay with them not going your way? I look at the emotional content and then I ask myself, and it's a very simple switch. It's literally 2 words, family. I'll give it to you. Enjoy it right now. Take it. If I never see you again, please use this for the rest of your journey. It will literally yield you anything you want, feeling wise, instantly. It's and now. That's it. It's a psychological shifter in our brain process, because and is a conjunctive word, and we know in our brain it conjoins 2 things. So I'm really pissed off, and now, which is the current moment, bringing my brain, my body, my being to this moment in time, this conversation between you and I. And right now, you and I can make the argument that you and I are the only thing that's happening in our universe, because it's our conversation. We have no idea who's watching, how many people are watching, where they're from. It's just you and me, brother. So right now, I can be present in this and go, and now what do I choose to feel? Now, a lot of people make and this is the thing that we don't teach anymore. You'll actually learn this in AITs when you come into the architects, is most people think that a decision and choice are the same thing, and they're not. One is very automated, no different than Groundhog's Day. And the other one is someone actually choosing the choice of what they want based on what they want, because that's what they want. It doesn't have to be all the becauses and all the other stuff. I choose this, boom. So, and now is a great psychological bridge to shift your emotion. And now I choose to feel blank. Here's a perfect proof that every one of you listening to the show can do this right now. You don't need PhDs like me. You don't need doctorates like me. You don't need all these letters after your name. You got it naturally. You just forgot it. No one needed to teach you how to feel. You know how to feel angry. You know how to feel happy. You know how to feel sadness. You know how to feel joy. You know how to feel disappointment. You know how to feel excitement. How do you know that? Because you feel it. No different than no one could tell you you were in love. You just knew it. You just felt it, or at least what you thought love felt like at that moment, right? Because of whatever framework you were on at the time. And the more you peel it off, the more it becomes available. So when you get to yourself, you say, I'm having a bad day. Bad according to what? How are you judging yourself? What is the hierarchy of value system that you judge yourself in? Well, I'm having a bad day because I didn't close 14 real estate deals, damn it. I've been in the real estate business. I was in it in the 90s. I was a real estate investor, big time. Man, you know this as well. Escrow's a bitch. Things go weird at the last minute. Loans go sideways. The HUDs don't work out the same way. There's a shift in prices, 11th hour negotiation. There's all kinds of shit that goes on. There's a title glitch. You know, all kinds of things happen. But that doesn't make it a bad day. Death is a bad day. I call that a bad day, but it's over at that point. You won't have ability to judge it as bad because you're gone, right? So when we look at bad, it's, and now what I choose to feel. You see, the law of attraction isn't new, by the way. It's been around since the dawn of man. It just had many different messages. But we got into the habit of the last 20 years since the secret of this generation, that if I think it, it shows up, which means if I think it and it doesn't show up, then there's something wrong with my thinking. Family, it has nothing to do with your thinking. It has to do with what's going on down here. It's the emotional content structure that drives your values, that drives your belief systems, that pushes into your subconscious and then talks to your conscious mind. Your conscious mind's the last thing to know what's going on. Trust me. Even now, audience, as you've been listening to us have this dialogue, let's be honest. Let's have some fun. How many different times have you wandered off about shit that has nothing to do with what we're talking about? You've thought about groceries or the kids, or I got to go check this other thing, or you're checking your phone and you're scrolling on some social media crap. You're doing other shit that has nothing to do with this conversation, yet you have the guts to stare yourself in the mirror and say, I'm paying attention. Are you really? And now you could choose to stop. What do I want to feel? What am I experiencing in this conversation, in this show? What do I feel now that I want to change? You can change your feeling on a dime. The problem is we have thinking up here and programming up here and architectural blueprinting from a past sequence that we've ignored for so long that says, well, yeah, I can feel that, Travis, but I didn't close the deal. I'm not good enough. I have bills to pay. My girlfriend or boyfriend is X or Y or Z. I'm not in shape, blah, 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 blah. We give you all the thinking that has nothing to do with your feeling, because we exchanged feeling and how we really are as creatures for we're back here at doing. Because again, big boys don't cry. You got to suck it up and put your big boy britches on. You got to be an alpha male. Compared to what? I mean, if I'm an alpha, that means you have to be a beta or reverse. Or how about we're just both guys or women? Who says you have to have perfect little eyebrows that are so fucking full of shit? Makes me nuts. You have eyelashes that are so long that you look like you're catching spiders at 400 feet. How come you need to have an ass that's so far up your backside that it looks like it was carved out of, like literally carved out of a 3D printer? No one said you have to look like that. You can. But if you're chasing an image to get an emotional response, then you must ask yourself, and now what am I really feeling? And am I keep projecting all this so that someone will help me feel better? When the truth is, and now I just choose to be happy. I choose to be grateful that I get to be on the show, that you asked me to be on the show. You could have 1,000 people on your show, brother. You asked me. Fuck, that's awesome. I'm super stoked about that. Why? Because it feels good for someone to go, hey, Trav, I want you to be on my show. Let's have a conversation, because I get to be, and now in my passion for that moment with somebody else and share something that's very valuable to me. What they do with it is up to them. But in my experience, I get to be in my passion. That's a fucking great gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But we look at it as I got to grind. I got to do my side hustle. All this social media shit is constantly bombarding us in this very powerfully hypnotic way that keeps us from just going, and now I just want to feel peace. How many of you just right now, especially during this time, how many of you would give everything you've got to just feel okay, just to feel peaceful, just to feel like, cool, man, it's going to work out one way or the other. Yes, there are a lot of tragedies going on, but I got news flash for you, family. There's been tragedies going on long before COVID-19 came on, and you didn't give a shit then. It's because you're being bombarded with a bunch of other information that tells you this is what is for now. And yes, it's very real. I make light of no situation in any way, shape, or form. But let's be candid, ladies and gentlemen. I was around in the 80s when HIV came out and AIDS came out. But the world didn't shut down. We didn't shut the whole fucking community down. And I promise you, millions have been affected by HIV. Millions have been affected by cancer. Millions of people have gone through a bunch of other things. And I'm not making light of it. What I'm inviting you to do is not let your brain take you down a journey that is not what you choose to experience. That is because we are all master hypnotists. The difference is I was actually trained in hypnotherapy. I have a doctorate in clinical hypnotherapy. I've helped thousands of people through that process. But the one thing that I learned, family, in all my training, when I was Dr. Fox and thought I really knew something, right? I've never hypnotized anybody. My old resume used to say, Travis Fox has hypnotized over 1 million people. I've stood in front of 1 million people in my career and done that. That, in fact, is a truth. The not truth is this. I've never hypnotized anybody. The truth is they were already hypnotized long before I ever showed up, because the best damn hypnotist on the planet is staring you right in the mirror. Look in the mirror and look at yourself and look at all the things you have convinced yourself to believe are true. I've got more time. I'm not good enough. I can only be happy when I make X amount of zeros and commas. I've got to have the car and the bling bling and the fake breasts, and I got to be buffed up, and I got to be this and I got to be that. Okay, what if those things never occur? Is your life a total waste? Well, okay, let's bite. Let's be spiritual for 3 seconds, and then I'll stop. If you believe in whatever your higher power is, you call that God, Yahweh, Allah, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but let's believe that you believe in your higher power. You're trying to tell me that that brain is so powerful that it said, okay, higher power, you brought me here to earth, and I didn't become Dwayne Johnson. I didn't become, name a celebrity. I didn't become that. I didn't become a billionaire. I didn't become Steve Jobs. I didn't become the next tech company that went public and went for $1 gazillion. I didn't do any of that stuff. But so my whole life is wasted. You screwed up by sending me here. My life's a waste. Really? I would invite you that you have a value conflict that's so deep that has kept you from being peaceful, enjoying every moment, because you have no idea how many people you actually affect and could invite to wake up just by being you. You are here for a purpose. You are here for a reason. And until you allow yourself to do that, you are robbing yourself and you're robbing us all. That to me is the biggest tragedy of everything. And then my life's passion is about inviting every single person to have the wealth skills of architecting their own life, architecting a lifestyle, whatever that may be, and live it. Because the truth is, you ain't getting off this planet alive. I don't care how much money you've got, how big you think your dick is, or how big your tits are. It don't mean shit. You're dead. And until you really live, you are robbing you and us of the real you. And we need you now more than ever. That's it. That's me.
Travis, you're good, brother. You're good, man.
Just being me.
Hey, Travis, dude, do me a favor, man. Give me a snap and get me out of trance for a second, man.
Who said you were in?
Oh, you're good, man. You're good, brother. Powerful stuff, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks
powerful
for listening,
stuff,
man. I'm really grateful. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, this is my passion. This is all I do. I mean, I'm only good at this. Beyond that, I'm dumb as a brick. I learn every day. I believe that every person I meet is a teacher. I learn from them too. I mean, like you look at the hats behind me. These are all different brands of all architect grads that are all trainers themselves, have students that I've never met, may never meet, right? Just because they're my students doesn't mean that they're also not my teachers, right? I've learned from my students because I've watched how they architect their journey and I've seen how they apply it. Like Architecting Vinyasa here to my right is run by Rob, AKA Sage. And Rob is an ex-CEO of a $40 million oil company who said, this is it. Okay, I run this big company. I've got all these employees. I've got all this stress. My body's out of shape. This is it. This is the dream. Left it. Just literally left it. Went and studied yoga, became a yogi, a very well successful one up in Canada, and said, wait a minute, we're missing the one component of yoga, and that was architecture. And he's obviously become a graduate in his architect council, and he literally changed lives. So, and again, it doesn't mean you have to leave your job. If you want to be a CEO and you want to be the next Steve Jobs, let's do it. But wouldn't it be interesting if you did it in a way that wasn't necessarily competitive? It was cooperative, because now more than ever, we need cooperation, boys and girls. Because guess what? COVID don't care whether you're boy or girl. It don't care if you're gay or straight. Doesn't care if you're rich or poor. Don't care if you're tall, short, fat, skinny, nothing. It don't care. As long as you're pink on the inside, your ass is COVID's, period. So maybe it's time we can drop all this stuff and now really start living our lives. And over the last 60 days, if you haven't taken the beautiful invitation that Great Spirit has given us through this very unique path called COVID-19, to really open yourself up to what you really want, what's really valuable to you. And now I invite you to do it right now. Architect your plan. Start doing it right now. And I'm not talking about planning it like from here. Get here clear first. If you don't know how to do that, and you know what, with your permission, if I may, I will grant everyone the first 3 days of the jump in training for free. No bullshit, no upsells. You can come into the architectural system. We have our own chat rooms. We have our own CRM. You have an architect advisor. There's no BS. You're going to get the first 3 hours of our first introductory training called the jump in training. And those 3 hours are going to blow your mind. If you think this conversation was cool, wait till you do the jump training. And that's just the beginning. For free. You've got meditations there. You've got immunity meditations. You've got hypnotherapy. You've got yoga. You've got singing bowls. If you've never experienced singing bowls, one of my great friends, who's a great artist of that, donated it to the community and gave it to you. You've got television shows, films. It's all there. Use it. Otherwise, I promise you there's two things that are going to happen. Groundhog's Day will repeat itself. And 6 months from now, when we have another conversation, we do the show again, you're like, damn, I remember when those two guys were talking about that, and I'm still doing the same shit, just a different slight environment and a different day. And the only person that's getting screwed out of those 26,000 days is you. So let's architect it, man. Let's go.
Travis, what's the website? By the way, that's super generous of you. What's the website where the listeners can access those 3 days?
It's architecting, architect, and then ing360.com. And you're going to want to put /. If you don't worry, you can click the button. It'll say try it for free, and it'll take you there as well. But if you do /register-free, it's going to take you right into it. It's going to put you right in the system. You can create a profile, no cost. There's no, but wait, there's more. There's no upsells. There's no OTOs. It's just you're in, man. You get the days. It delivers it right to you. You're going to get text. You're going to get emails that says, hey, this is Travis. Here's day one. Day one, we're going to talk about how does that conscious mind work? And I'm going to teach you what meditation is and what it isn't. I'm going to give you an exercise. I'm going to show you how to deal with your mind. And I'm going to show you how to redirect it instantly right there. Day 2, day 3. So every day we're setting you up so you know exactly what's going to happen next. The expectations are managed. And then you can start your architectural journey and start architecting your life in real time. And once you experience it, I promise you, you'll become addicted to it because you'll understand you are the architect of your journey. And we're on this beautiful playground called Earth. Guess what? The theme park ends and it does close, commonly called death. So let's go ride all the roller coasters, eat all the cotton candy, do everything you want to do, because boys and girls, when it's over, again, the life without living is the ultimate undoable regrets. Let's go live our asses off. It's okay to make mistakes. But mistakes according to who? You're gonna screw up. It's okay according to who? You got had money, lost money, had money, lost money, had money. Money's more fun. But guess what? It's what's on the other side of that money is. So let's go be in passion because money is just an exchange of value. You guys, if you want to come in and buy our programs, I'm going to bust my ass to make sure you architect your life and your lifestyle. You don't. I'm okay with that too. You come to the show to learn something. Learn. The difference is you've learned something in this conversation in my fantasies. That's my prayer. I hope that is true. But the question is, and now are you willing to do something about it? Otherwise, you're going to make the same decision you made before you listen to the show. The choice that you have in front of you, you will skip by. This thing will hypnotize you again, and you will go right back to what you were doing. 6 months will go by, and nothing's changed. You know this in real estate too. When you see the opportunity, you write the contract. Bang. You don't go back and think about it. You run it through your formulas. You look at your loan to value, and you go, does this feel right? Bang. And you take the shot because you win, lose, or draw. But what will guaranteed not happen if you don't write that contract, if you don't step and architect your life, nothing. That's guaranteed. That is guaranteed. And that stacks up over time and you get comfortable with nothing.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it.
Thanks, man.
And I'm going to check it out myself, brother. I want to thank you so much, Travis, for stopping by the show, man.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Expectation was, whoo, you brought the heat, my man. You brought the heat. I know the listeners, they're going to love it. And really get value out of this show and this episode. Cool. I'm going to link all your websites, your social medias, and whatnot in the show notes. So expect a bunch of people to hit you up to give you. Hey, man,
I answer my own email too. By the way, I'm actually, if you DM me, I respond. If you Facebook me, it's me. I don't have my staff do it. I actually like talking to people. Awesome. So hit me up, say hi, ask a question, I'll answer. Why not?
I love it. Awesome. Well, with that being said, Travis, look forward to staying connected, brother, and enjoy the rest of your day, man. Take care.
You too.